Call of Duty is no longer a annualized franchise, at least in the current incarnation that we see it as today. So
took a pill in Ibiza to show Avicii I was cool. And when I finally got sober, felt 10 years older, but fuck it, it was something to do.
Hey guys, Popbacker here today, and time for another video. Now today's video is going to be about Call of Duty and its annual release cycle. Now I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Call of Duty's annual release cycle is just about over. Now what does this mean exactly? Call of Duty will no longer be released every single year. Now they will be continuing to make games, they will be continuing to make Call of Duty games, but they're just not going to be released every single year back to back like they are right now. Now Call of Duty games go through about a 3-year cycle, so that means there are currently 3 different companies making games for Call of Duty. So one of them releases it 1 year, next year, and next year. But they're going to be stopping this. This isn't going to be a permanent thing anymore. Why exactly are they going to be doing this? I think that's better left said to a Call of Duty employee. There is actually an employee who decided to come up and to say a couple of things about why their brand is no longer as big as it is and why they decided to move a little bit away from the annual release. Now, I have an audio clip of one of the employees actually talking about what's going on and why this is happening. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip so that way you guys can hear a little bit about what's happening and why it's happening. And then at the very end, I'll go ahead and let you guys know my little opinion of this.
yeah, it is a big one. I see it a lot too. I don't think, I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty is no longer a annualized franchise, at least in the current incarnation that we see it as today. So I'll elaborate on that a little bit. So if you look at, just take a step back and look at branding in general as a discipline, there is such a thing as brand oversaturation in a marketplace, and there's a lot of talk this year going on about the NFL. The NFL's viewership here in the States is down. There's a lot less people watching Monday Night Football and other nights that the programming is on. There's there's a lot of speculation around what's causing this and why are the viewership numbers, the ratings for the NFL going down. And I think there's a lot of different speculation, and all of it has its place, all of it's fair. Some people are speculating that there is just an oversaturation. You're constantly inundated with just NFL content pretty much year round, and when you or football content when you roll in the NCAA content, although that's still on a solid growth trajectory. But I think there's a lot of speculation to whether or not it's just there's so much competing for our attention as millennials with now YouTube and Netflix and Twitch and or I think one of the other theories I saw for the reason for the NFL downturn was all of the presidential debate that was happening this year, and that was just there was so much of a fiasco going on in the mainstream media that it was pulling people away from the channels where they'd be watching their NFL content. But I think one of the prevailing theories is, of course, that this could just be brand fatigue, even for a brand as big as the NFL. So I think that when you think about how that can affect even a brand like the NFL, I think it's fair to assume that it could affect a brand like Call of Duty. And I think that it also is fair to assume that, well, we've already kind of seen this with another Activision brand, with Guitar Hero, where, they were releasing more than one game a year in some cases into that franchise, and it really kind of burned through the marketplace and consumers really, really quickly. So the concern, of course, is, well, is that what's happening with Call of Duty? And it's tough debate. And when I look at how much content there is around Call of Duty, I think that there's a lot of ways Activision gets to explore this predicament, right? Yes, sales are on a decline. What could be causing that? I think that once those declines start to impact the shareholder of Activision a lot more, once it stops being just a revenue item and becomes an issue of stock price, I think you're going to start to see a bit more of an aggressive push into fixing or changing strategy. But when that happens, or as they work through that problem space, there's a lot of interesting things they could work with to to maybe tourniquet that bleed a little bit. You know, they do have zombies. They have a couple different variations of zombies that can, you know, people have been saying for a long time that could be its own standalone product in some way. You know, it had to evolve a little bit beyond what it is, but it certainly could. You have different sub-franchises and sub-brands within the game. So there's a way that surely that they can still release product every year. But when it comes to, you know, thinking about multiplayer, when it comes to thinking about the annualization of the core Call of Duty product, and when you start to think about how you could synergize that strategy with esports, we talked about in one of our other videos, we talked about how esports can have the annual release of a game can have huge impacts on the growth and the viability of esports. So I think that there's a lot of interesting ways to kind of take all your Call of Duty franchise ingredients together, and there's a way that you can proportion them and cut them up, I think, to maybe make a little bit less of a fatiguing release campaign calendar, but still maintain that kind of you know, product share that I think that the investor is going to want to see coming out of Activision.
So basically, guys, Call of Duty just doesn't have as big of a profit as they would like. So that's why they're kind of moving away from the annual release cycle, so that way it gives the developers a little bit more time to hear feedback before they just go ahead and start the new game, before they even know what's going on or know what you guys want. So basically, I did a little bit of research, and it turns out Call of Duty sales, even now, are much higher than they were for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and Call of Duty World at War. But I think the reason why they need their numbers to be higher than what they are right now is just because over the years, as the company has grown as a whole, it does need more profit in order to stay open and keep everything going, since they have to fund 3 companies developing games and 3 different developers completely developing everything. So that's kind of why they need that. So I understand a little bit that they do need more time for feedback, just that way they can keep their sales up, as well as they need more money from each game in order to keep the games going. Although I would honestly play any Call of Duty game that comes out, no matter who makes it or no matter what it's about. Now, I didn't really like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and I'd prefer not to play it that much, but any Call of Duty game that does come out is a Call of Duty game, and I would enjoy it anyway. So if you guys found this video to be informative in any way, please go ahead and hit that like button, and if you guys are new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe for more Call of Duty videos.